I told you guys today is National Listening Day. I said it is your welcome giving today, the day after Thanksgiving. We say you're welcome. We give your welcomes out there. But it's also, and I thought I would save this particular holiday, this particular national day, this insane national day, Black Friday, to talk to with Terry Taylor about. You guys know him at 1313 Mockingbird Toys over in Lawrence, Kansas. He's one of our favorite small business owners. He's a guy that can talk about the ebb and flow of the economy from the small business perspective. And in many ways, even though his shop remains in one place, he's got a lot in common with you independent contractors and owner operators. And Terry Taylor, after Thanksgiving Day, are you braced up? Do you have a big weekend ahead of you? Is Black Friday, in fact,
I,
a black day of the soul or a black day of the bottom line?
I hope a little bit of both.
How much
I feel both are a win.
Outstanding. All right, let me ask you a question quickly. So, I mean, we know how much the economy's changed because of online action and because
Hmm.
people have gotten much smarter about their business models, about developing, particularly in your line of work, just like our drivers, regular recurring customers and all that kind of stuff. How much has changed over, okay, once again, remind me, how long has 1313 Mockingbird Toys been under your purview?
Oh, little since 2017.
Okay.
So I guess a little over 8 years.
So we're approaching a decade. So there actually is a difference because we're in two different economies. Um,
Oh
how
wow.
much, how much did you used to be dependent upon Black Friday, and how dependent upon Black Friday are you now? Because there's a lot of people where, man, it's like you got to get a big bump for like a week and a half to 2 weeks. Do you still depend on that massively, or is that something that because you've been able to set up your business in such a way that you're able to kind of, good or bad, it's just another moment to kind of deal with?
it's it's really hard to say because even though over 8 years probably sounds maybe to some people like a real long time, but really the store is still in its infant stages of figuring out what the heck's going on, and we're kind of in an interesting um, flux of when we started due to we opened and just as we were starting to get like our feet wet and people getting to know who we were, COVID hit, and then everything was COVID as far as like down tip with sales, and all of a sudden booming sales because everyone decided they wanted to support local businesses, and then things kind of went back to normal after a couple of years, and then now we're in the weird era of and people maybe holding on to their money a little more. So I've really had it's funny, I was a concert promoter for 30 years, and I lived and died by my Excel spreadsheets analyzing ebbs and flows, trends, what causes ticket sales to go up, down, sideways, what causes me to break even. So I analyze data. I just constantly analyze data. But I will say, as crazy as the concert promoting industry was, especially since I started at the age of 15 booking bands like Green Day out of my garage and ended in my around when I was about mid 40s booking 40,000 radio shows, um, crazy business to be in. But I'll say that the time that I've owned the store has been much crazier as far as my OCD trying to figure out trends and how it affects my business. So when we first opened, um, Black Friday wasn't the biggest thing for us because people didn't know who we were. But then I'd say the last Black Friday before quote unquote COVID times was very big for us. And we actually didn't do any sales because I was like, I'm just getting started. I can't afford to reduce prices on anything in my store. So I held that um, theory for a long time because where I'm located in downtown Lawrence, my landlords are amazing. They're family at this point, but downtown Lawrence, it's prime real estate and it's the highest rent in the city.
Terry, hold
I
on
can't.
one second. Terry, hold on one
Oh, go
second.
ahead.
Dre's going to pick up the phone for you for a second. Everything you said, we've heard loud and clear. The only issue we're having, it's a little bit poppy. We want to make sure that everybody gets to enjoy that, by the way. We'll have Terry back on in 1 second. It's really, really kind of cool if you think about the idea that Black Friday often is so sales dependent, ladies and gentlemen, that it is so sales dependent that if you can't afford to drop your prices, you may not be playing in the same ball game. So when we get Terry back on here, one of the things I'm going to ask him is there a way that you can create an atmosphere at a small store that lets people come in, even though your prices haven't changed, the reality has. Terry, what I'm getting at here is it seems interesting to me that it's such a great point. I'm not going to drop my prices because every nickel counts in a small business. Are there other strategies, like, you guys are so welcoming and so friendly and so hospitable, even in the creepy way that you guys are with your Krampuses lurking around. Is that part of the strategy, my brother? Do you say, like, we can't offer you lower prices, but we can offer you a great respite and a place to come in while you're doing your other shopping, and maybe something catches your attention? What are the other strategies on this big shopping weekend that don't involve, like, I'm not slashing 25% off a collector's item? I'm not doing it,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've changed our model a little bit since then. Like today, I'm doing 13% off a few
Perfect.
select items, but not the whole store. I know 13%. It's funny. People will wander in and be like, 13%. Why are you doing 13%? And I'm like, well, because a lot of people just think our name is Mockingbird. Like even like regulars have been coming forever. They're like, oh, that's your full name? Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
the website, it's the Facebook. But a lot of people think it's some weird morphine of our address, which is 1027, not 1313, and a random word. It's funny, but we provide, I feel, a community-based store that is welcoming to everybody, regardless if you're buying anything or not. You will get the same treatment and hi, how are you, chit chat, let's talk about movies and toys, regardless if you're here for 2 hours and don't buy anything, or if you're here for 2 minutes and you spend $200. And we pride ourselves, and it's funny when I don't have a huge staff here, but when we do hire somebody, we drill it into new coworkers that everyone is just as important as everyone. It doesn't matter if you think someone's spending a bunch of money or if they're just in here they're just looking for some companionship, and we take that very seriously, because when I was a little punk rocker, 12-year-old punk rocker, growing up in rural Sioux Falls, South Dakota, essentially, where no one liked me, no one accepted this like crazy-haired skateboarder that wore, ironically enough, store-bought anarchy shirts. I didn't realize the oxymoron then. Um, I had a record store up there that I ended up managing years later. That was my saving grace. They didn't care if I hung out there for 4 hours, which I did all the time, and never bought anything, but they treated me just like the people that were 36 years old coming in and spending $300. And I think people walk in here, and even though it may be a little weird to people who maybe aren't into nerd culture, horror culture, movie culture, they might walk in and be like, oh, because it's like black ceilings, gothic chandeliers, gargoyles on the outside, big green building, crazy Deadpool sitting above the door. But the minute they walk in and we start talking, I think people really feel at ease and really feel at home and feel very well. That is so important to me as a business owner, that every human that walks in the store feels welcome.
I wanted to, and by the way, if the answer is no, you can just say, well, I don't want to do that, and I won't take it personally. I've got a question immediately after that to prevent it from becoming awkward. I had Louis Pugh on, who is the head of, the vice president, executive vice president of the Owner Operator Independent Drivers Association, and he took a few moments before we got to Thursday to be thankful for the people that work on the staff with him on Capitol Hill. We have mentioned this in passing before. We all know about Liz. I know you've got to be thankful. I've seen some of those great pictures. Tell us just a little bit about your staff. You don't have to get personal, in regards to giving away too much about these wonderful people. But I think our friends would love to hear about the folks that work for you.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, we kind of have. Again, it's not like a huge staff. My wife Liz, she only does Saturdays here at the store, but she helps me with a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Um, one of the longest workers I've had is a kid named Max, and it's Maxx. He's named after a comic book character. He was his friend. His dad is a big friend of mine. And during COVID, his dad called me and said, "Hey, Max was 13 at the time during COVID, and was like, Max is having a really hard time. I feel like he's not getting the socialization." And I didn't know Max at the time. I knew Sean very well, but I didn't really know his son Max. Could you help me out? Is there anything he can do? I was like, absolutely. So I had this 13-year-old kid, Max, start with me that just started pricing toys and just kind of hanging out. And I'll be very honest, the first couple of years, hopefully he's not going to listen to the replay on this, but first couple of years were a little rough because he just sat on his phone like most 13 and 14-year-olds. And me as not being a parent didn't know how to really navigate that. But I will say after he hit about 15 years old, he turned a corner and he has become like my most valued employee. He does like works, always volunteers to work extra hours. And it is crazy how important he's become to the store. But sadly, he is leaving in January to go to electrician school. But he's a little punk rock kid, reminds me of myself, very driven. And it's going to be a big loss to the store that he's leaving, but I'm also, as someone who almost feels like a co-parent to him at this point, 6 years in, I'm very proud that he's got motivation to go do something else.
Actually,
Then I also have another.
Terry, really
Yeah.
quickly, you hit the sweet spot here with our listeners as far as they're concerned. You took a typical teenager, turned him into a socially equipped floor employee, and then I don't know if you know this, there's a real serious electrician shortage. People joke about the driver shortage; you hear it all the time. That's not true.
Yeah.
There's an underpaying driver shortage. There is a lack of quality drivers because they're all going someplace else, except for the people listening here and some other platforms. But I'll tell you this right now, you managed to hit the sweet spot in that you successfully, because the other thing is a lot of the people that end up in electrician school, trade schools, don't have the social capital. Because I was once told that the biggest problem with finding a good diesel mechanic wasn't the mechanic itself, was finding people who could write the work order and talk to the customers. You actually trained this guy to be able to do that as well. So I wanted to get that in there. But go on about your employees.
Yeah. So once Max leaves, we're actually interviewing. I'm actually, right when I get off the phone with you all, I have a couple interviews coming in before doors before we open. And then I also have a 22-year-old that just graduated college. She's majored in film studies, and so she's kind of on the hunt for a gig in the film industry. I think like a lot of early 20s people, I think she doesn't exactly know what she wants to do, but she knew that she liked film or whatever. And she's been great. She's been with us for a couple of years now. And then we also have a 50-year-old New York transplant that started here about 2 years ago. And she is an absolute social butterfly. She's a hardcore feminist. She's a freelance writer. She just won us over. She came in and brought the best resume I'd ever seen, like in this envelope, decorated, but she went full bore, and she just has this personality, and she's very much the woman about town. She does work with the homeless shelter here. She also mans or womans, I should say, the shelter, or there's like a store here where people donate clothes and items, and underprivileged people and homeless people can go there on Saturdays, and they can just go in. It's like a store that they can go in and get everything free, no limit. And she kind of like watches that and just makes sure everything stays tidy. And she just does volunteer work, feminist work, just great. It's been a great addition to the store. And sadly, we lost one of our workers. Her last day was last week, that moved here from about 3.5 hours away, and was only here at the store about 6 months, but she'd been a customer of the store for years. But she sadly just economically just couldn't make it work, because Lawrence is more of a spendy town. It's a college town, so you really have to have some money to make it long term here, or have parents that I guess are going to pay your way. So sadly, her last day was last Wednesday. So we are actually looking for someone to replace her.
And by the way, that's one of the hardest things to do. People think that firing people is hard. Firing people is nothing compared to hiring the right people. It's an
Oh,
agonizing
it's
choice. It
awful.
is awful.
It's so
It
awful.
is one of the most
I had,
awful things. Yeah.
I, I, when I found out she was leaving 2 weeks ago, I knew that Max was leaving as well, so I was trying to hire a hybrid that was because Max's position and her position were completely different. Max has almost been like an assistant to me rather than even just a retail worker. And so I was trying to see if I could hire someone, maybe one job, give them maybe a few more hours, but kind of morph the two of where they would work the counter and stuff, but they would also come in on days and help me price sort and do, listings on our website and stuff. So I posted, we're looking for help, and I got about 50 applications in about 48 hours. And I will tell you, maybe two are usable. Like, we have a second page on our application. We have the traditional application that's like references, name, blah, blah, blah. But we have a second page that I made. It's like, hey, let's get to know you. What are your favorite movies? Are you collecting any toys? If so, what are those? What are your other interests that you have? And that's for me, if I'm not here when you turn the app in, for me to get a snapshot of who you are and if you'd be a good fit in the store. And I'd say 50% of the people that turned in apps did not fill out the second page. So to me, if you can't follow direction and fill something out, and then I'd say another 25% of the applications for their previous work, there's two check boxes. May we contact this employer? Yes or no? I'd say at least 25% of them put no. So I don't know what your interests are. I can't contact your previous employer. Most of the people on the apps only put one reference, and there isn't a requirement to do three, but there is three boxes. Most people only put one reference, and it was like their significant other or their best friend, like no work. It's just really weird. I feel, I feel like a lot of people don't know how to fill out an application. It's very odd.
Well, and it's interesting too because, and I'm going to change directions here in two ways. I'm not going to change topics. I'm going to stay with you here, but
Sure.
really
Yep.
quickly,
Yep.
our good friend Forod says I can vouch for Terry Taylor and his wife. They're really great people. I've only been able to visit
Oh.
once, but it was a great experience. He wanted to kind of let that kind of slip out there.
No.
The other thing that's really kind of interesting here, and it gives lie to something. There are all these people like, oh, you majored in film. Oh, you majored in creative writing. Oh, you got nerdy habits. You're unemployable. The kind of people that can fill out the back of that application often have really productive jobs that pay them very, very well. Like I said, or you get people like your friend who came in who was great, but then had to move on and kind of figure out ways to kind of improve her economic situation. It's a great
Sure. Yep.
reminder that the people who do what you do, the people who do what I do, people who do like, I'll give you an example, like Trucker Bosun, who is, who's actually on chat as well here too. The people who actually can afford the kind of, what is it, the people who could actually do a coherent job, the majority of which to fill out that second page, often are looking for full-time jobs and not looking for the kind of thing that you have to offer. You're a great
Sure.
transitional place. And this is, by the way, it's not
Yeah.
knocking what you do, but it's the kind
Nope.
of help you're looking for. But it makes it really hard to hire right because you do need some brains there because you have to have
Yep.
customer service interaction, right?
Peop, peop, I can tell just from the people that I've had a lot of people that come in to apply that have never been in the store. They just saw online that we're hiring, and I think a lot of people think it's just you just stand at the counter and just sell some toys. I think people don't realize all the just the customer interaction aspect is a lot tougher than people think. Um, Especially where we're located, the crazy amount of variety of people that come in because we're essentially in the tourist spot of Lawrence and in a college town. So you get, all walks of life coming in, and knowing how to analyze, react, and deal with different situations is very important. And not to mention this year, especially the increase of shoplifting has just been absolutely stunning. It's crazy. We're probably 4,000 up in shoplifting from last year. It's so you got to know to analyze those kind of situations. Not to mention the back end part of the store, which is like restocking, pricing toys, bagging, reorganization, doing inventory. I mean, there's a lot of stuff rather than just standing at the counter and plugging some numbers into the register. And if I've learned anything by a lot of people, I never realized how many people didn't know what tax was till we get adults to kids coming in that are like, they hand me a $20 bill for a $20 action figure, and I'm like, oh, well, that's $21.86 a tax. And I've had full-grown adults that are 40 years old and be like, what do you? It says 20. Well, yeah, but there's tax. The government has to get tax. And they're like, what do you mean? Well, you should have that on the price. And I've had real conversations through the years with actual just adults that don't understand how tax works.
Well, you just want to say, do you live in Kansas? Yeah. Are you aware that we have a legislature? Are you aware that they put a sales tax on things? Oh, you think that I'm doing that thing where the tax is included, where I've sat down and calculated the price of this to be whatever. And you want to tell them, you realize if I calculated that way, I would just have it at 25 and make a lot more money off of this. What are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, I got to tell you, man, the bus from Stupidville sometimes arrives everywhere, and people get off all the time. Sometimes you get the driver.
With the first couple of times that happened when we opened the store, I thought it was kind of a joke. Or sometimes there's like online people share like scams to get away with out of business or something weird. But then it's happened so many times, not just to me, but to my other coworkers too, and then. So all of us business owners in downtown Lawrence, we kind of like, when we see each other, like we go into each other's businesses, we just go like, how's it going, blah, blah, blah. And one time I was making a joke at the local record store here, and I was like, hey, how about that? Tax is included on everything. And they're like, you get that too? And I was like, okay, it isn't just me. It just isn't my wacky little business. It's like, it actually is a thing that happens across
everywhere.
Stores.
Everywhere. I had a friend of mine owned a bar. You know what he told me the biggest problem with owning a bar is? Customers.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just the reality of it sometimes. And it's like, but it's amazing too, though. I mean, given the fact that you guys are so big on customer service, I was kind of wondering, with all the events you do, always an attempt to kind of get your brand out there, to talk to people, to be a part of the city, to be a part of the street life, to offer all these events and venues. Do you get a chance to get your people involved in that? I mean, when you and Liz are doing, when she's walking, it's Krampus, or you're setting up a booth, you're hosting a movie night, those opportunities, that must make it even harder to hire, because you want people who are like front-facing and forward, and yet a little bit demented and sad, too, at the same time. I mean that in a positive way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we kind of make people demented and sad a little bit once they start working here and they deal with me a bit.
Terry.
But I say that actually in a good way.
I know what you mean. Demented and sad, but social. A little breakfast club going on there.
Yeah. But no, like this year, the first couple years we did Krampus, which if your listeners don't know, we do this thing where my wife dresses up like Krampus. We do photos out front.
No, Terry. No, I'm going to correct you. Your wife transforms into Krampus.
Okay. Yeah, she does. Well, she does. She does transform. But we do it as a benefit for the Humane Society, and usually does like 250 to 400 people a time. It really is weather dependent, because we do it outside. But so like the first couple of years, it was just her with someone helping taking pictures. Last year, the third year, we did it where we had a couple other Krampuses show up, and we did like a kind of a group Krampus. And this year we're trying something a little different, where a couple of our workers are going to dress up like evil elves, and instead of having like multiple Krampusi, Krampuses, it's going to be her. It's going to be Krampus with a couple evil elves, kind of taunting the people getting pictures. So we've just been trying different things, and that way also we could work because our workers really wanted to be involved. So we figured this was a great way to include them, because we obviously, anyone that works at our store, we want them to feel invested in the store, because the more people who work for you are invested, the more they're going to care about the outcome of the store and the survival of the store and the happiness of the customers. And I truly believe that small business only survives if everyone that's working there is invested in the store. And, and that's why you have to have a great working environment. We do things where like the new Toxic Avenger, I rented out the local indie theater here. They have a small theater that I rented out the whole theater for a showing of the Toxic Avenger, and took the staff and their significant others to the movie. And we try and do fun things that kind of build a community a little bit with the staff, because I feel like that's really important, to not become disconnected with your workers.
Terry, it's a beautiful place to land this plane. The only Christmas stranger than 1313 Mockingbird toys is actually the one that is celebrated in Japan, but that one isn't anywhere near as joyful as yours, despite its weirdness. Terry Taylor is a regular contributor here over at Road Gang Radio. Terry's Terrifically Terrifying Toys. Really quickly, Terry, one toy you're expecting to fly off the shelves from this point until the holiday hits us.
It was a Netflix movie called K-pop Demon Hunter, and that is the hot jam this year.
Let me tell you,
that is the thing.
On Halloween Day, my nephew and all of his friends were head to toe K-poppers. So that's it right there, my brother.
Number one most requested costume in America this year.
Not surprised. My number one requested is Terry Taylor. I'm going to dress like Terry Taylor next year. I love you, man. I do. And nothing you can do about
Thanks a lot.
You got it, man.
Have a great weekend, guys.